Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Bilal Abdul Kareem for On the Ground News. What you see here is a very angry group of tribesmen. They are not being allowed to go further into Sueda. They say that they have they want to continue the fight because the Israeli-backed Al-Hijri group has refused the prisoner exchange, and they have refused a ceasefire, and they have refused to hand over their weapons. They are angry because the government security services are not allowing them in. They are saying that there are negotiations and therefore they have to wait. We're going to follow this up. This is an explosive situation, as you can hear behind me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, a bunch of tribesmen, my butt. What if I told you that over inside Syria that there has been people reportedly coming in from, I don't know, Chechnya, Turkey, and several other countries? Like, these just aren't tribesmen. These are literally people like jihadists that have been pouring in from around the world to go over there and kill frickin' Druze. I can't. My mind is failing to grasp the concept of how serious this is, and I think the entire world is as well. As a matter of fact, I think even Marco Rubio and his dumb self is failing to grasp the seriousness of it. And I say that because Marco Rubio, right, the guy that ended up delisting HTS as a foreign terror organization, literally said this 2 days ago on Saturday. He said the U.S. has remained heavily involved over the last 3 days with Israel, Jordan, and authorities in Damascus in the horrifying and dangerous developments in southern Syria. The rape and slaughter of innocent people, which has and is still occurring, must end. If the authorities in Damascus want to preserve any chance of achieving a unified, inclusive, and peaceful Syrian free of ISIS and the Iranian control, they must help this calamity by using their security forces to prevent ISIS and any other violent jihadists from entering the area and carrying out massacres. And they must hold accountable and bring to justice any guilty and atrocities from within their own ranks. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would love to tell you that that is a honest statement, but in Matt's opinion, it's really not. All right, members of HTS, that would be, the leader Jolani, the de facto president over in Syria, got called in to attempt to, stop all of these foreign fighters from entering into Sueda and murdering the Druze down inside Syria. And if you guys are just joining in, before we get into it, there's Sueda on the map. There's Israel. You guys can see where that's at. Here's Damascus. HTS wasn't supposed to be south of Damascus. They actually entered in that sucker first thing before anybody else, before any of this crap happened, when it was just the tribesmen and the Druze last week that were going at it. HTS decided that they would go down there. And what they ended up doing was they ended up murdering Druze. They went down and they got into the city center of Sueda and they started shooting people and they started throwing them out windows and they started doing all of those things. GA says Lifted Spirits just released a new song called Druze, Oh Druze. Definitely should give it a listen. I will do that. Thank you very much. And for anybody else that, is joining in here, make sure you guys give that a listen as well. So that's what ended up happening initially last week. And then what we ended up seeing was everybody getting pulled out because Israel ended up putting up airstrikes against HTS forces. So Israel launches airstrikes, people start getting pulled back, all of the armor ends up leaving, Druze reclaims Sueda. Then HTS makes its way back into Damascus, and what it starts doing is it starts painting over their vehicles, getting all of their freaking fighters reorganized. There's information that came out, leaked audio came out that suggested that Jolani, again, the de facto president over inside Syria, the leader of HTS, the one who Marco Rubio removed from the foreign terror organization list here in the United States of America, directed his men to go back down in there and to start murdering Druze. However, he made sure to let them know, do not use your cell phone when you're doing it. Make sure nobody knows that it's happening. And then we ended up seeing this massive influx. Over the weekend, a proposed ceasefire was supposed to come into place. That proposed ceasefire said that they were going to exchange some hostages, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We were supposed to see Jolani's men up over inside Damascus that were supposed to be blocking all of these foreign fighters that were flooding to try to make their way down into Sueda. Initially, we saw the lines collapse over inside of Damascus. The lines ended up breaking down, and then people started to continue to flood south. And as they got out there, there was a new renowned call by the international community to do something about it. And so Jelani's men ended up going into some of these surrounding areas. And you're going to hear from one of them here in just a sec, who I think that you need to pay attention to. And Jelani's men tried blocking them off down in that area, or at least we got some videos of them standing around with their rifles while all these jihadists are running in flipping circles, and they're screaming, if these hostages don't get exchanged, if the Druze end up going back on this, we're going to go in and murder them all anyways. So the Druze are surrounded by God only knows how many freaking 100,000 plus fighters from all around Syria and, truthfully, the international community that are flooding into southern Syria that are surrounding them. And I got a feeling the Druze said, you know what, if we end up giving these people up, we're just going to end up getting killed anyways. And so the word is that nobody ended up getting exchanged. Now, before we get into the massacres that took place on the ground, before we get into the airstrikes that took place, before we even get into the drone strikes, allegedly that Israel just conducted over inside Yemen, and the new fighting that's like breaking out on the ground as we speak, and before I show you like quasi blurred out videos of a man that had his freaking heart cut out inside of Sueda by these HTS nut jobs, I want to bring something up and bring it to your attention because it was, I don't know, ended up making yet a blip on the radar. If you guys are here in the United States of America, I want you to look at this video. What you're about to see is a CBP officer getting ambushed over, I believe it was New York, if my memory serves me correct. I'll confirm it after the video gets done being played. This guy's about to jump off, go over. The CBP officer is going to get shot in the freaking face. Then he's going to drop this dude, who, by the way, is an illegal alien that made his way into the United States in 2023 and then got released by the freaking Biden administration back in the States. So there you see him going. The CBP officer was able to recover, get up, detain the guy, and drag him back in. Right? So this guy ends up coming to custody. Then we find out all of these things about him, which is like this dude had been like deported in the past and all sorts of crap, and he ends up coming back in. So CBP is actively under attack. There's a warning that just came out of Florida for U.S. Special Forces personnel, both retired and active duty, that if you're down in that area, hey, you might be subject to a terror attack. Now, that's nothing new to the members of the SF community. We've known about these attacks for like quite some time. But the report did come out and state that it was happening locally. So we're having all of these different things that are happening in the United States as well. And I don't want to take away from any of that. I want you guys to know that we are closely monitoring that situation. I'm paying attention to it. And if something begins to develop or actually starts to like formulate out of that, I'm going to let you know. But CBP was able to detain like F-head over here inside this video that ended up shooting him in the face. And that situation was under control. So kudos to there. And I just want to let you guys know, for everybody that has came in the chat over the last year and screamed, happy birthday, Matt, I want you guys to know that today is, in fact, my 41st birthday. So happy birthday, baby. All right, here we go. Let's take a look and see what wonderful work HTS forces did when they rolled into Sueda over the weekend.
بقبلش بقبلش تحت الصلاه يسار بقبلش
So I'd love to tell you that that is like the worst of the worst that ended up coming out of there. They just go into these like different churches and stuff and start smashing freaking photos. It's not. I promise you, it's not. And we got more stuff that's coming up. You guys, thank you for all the happy birthday wishes. I appreciate it. Instead of having a birthday cake today, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and I'm going to get me a big old delicious milkshake with my kids. I want a birthday milkshake today. That's what I'm going for. Unfortunately, I don't even feel proper talking about it. Now, before, again, we get back into the main story, which is going to be what's taking place in Sueda that I opened up with and talked about, I want to let you guys know that this situation over inside of Iran, it hasn't cooled off yet either. I've been tracking Iran for a while, and over the weekend, I ended up watching numerous explosions that were taking place over inside of Tehran. All right. I also, by the way, remember, you guys remember when I ended up telling you about Afghans that ended up getting kicked out of Iran? Well, I ended up getting alerted by a friend of mine just the other day, like literally yesterday. Oh, wow. Look at that. I do have a link to it. Yep, I do. As a matter of fact, I do. Apparently Laura Logan has put this story out. I'm still double checking on everything, but apparently all the Afghans from the UAE are getting their butts sent back to Afghanistan. Now, those would be all of the Terps and things like that were friendly to the United States of America that fled Taliban control. And now the UAE is kicking them all out and sending them back to Iran. And I wonder why. that brings me back to this. Because over inside of Tehran, after all of the bombings and all of that stuff happened this last month, we ended up seeing the Iranians capture a bunch of Afghans. And they were saying that those Afghans were responsible, you know, for like building everything and so on and so forth. James, thank you, brother. Ice cream on me, my friend. Thanks, man. Justin Winch, birthday beer on me. Thank you, guys. Appreciate all the birthday wishes and everything that's coming through. Dear God, man, I just looked away from the super chat for 5 seconds and all this is happening. James Power says, happy birthday, brother. Appreciate you, Jimmy. Everybody that's donating for my birthday, I appreciate you guys. You don't gotta do that. You just donate because I'm doing good things over here on the channel, right? Justin Winch, James O'Rourke, and Keegan, happy birthday, Matt. Been watching you since the kickoff of the Ukraine conflict. I appreciate you greatly. Bada bing, bada bang, probably. I think it is what it is. Happy birthday, Texas, bro. Coming in with 5. Appreciate all you guys for all those birthday wishes. But here's the thing. If we've got those Afghans that are getting kicked out of the UAE and they're getting sent back to Afghanistan, I can't help but wonder whether or not Tehran put pressure on the UAE in order to do that because of everything that they find over inside of Tehran. And when I say everything that they find, I mean that wholeheartedly. Sergeant Smoke says, and there is still some people that believe it's impossible for that to happen here in the U.S. It's not impossible. As a matter of fact, it's not. We saw that, what was it, last year? Early last year? When we had like the retired SF dude over in North Carolina that ended up schwacking 2 freaking Hodges like over outside of his property that were here in the United States, allegedly illegally working for some shell company that nobody wants to talk about. Where are those files? Like, I'm all about the Epstein files, but come on, man. Can we please like hear about those guys? I would like to know about that. David Hicks, let me know. I'm coming in 5x5. Appreciate you, man. All right. So yeah. Let's talk about what they ended up finding over inside of Tehran, because I think it matters. Watch this video. Now, allegedly, what ended up taking place inside of this video that I'm about to put up on your screen is a local man inside of Tehran was breaking into a building and ended up coming across an entire drone facility and ended up notifying the authorities he had broke into this drone facility, or he broke into this industrial building or whatever. And then he ended up finding drones. So he said it was his duty as an Iranian to basically report this thing. He's like, yeah, I'm a thief. I broke into this place, but you know, look what I ended up finding. Oh, I don't think that's the right video. My bad. That'd be this one. All right, I think you guys get the idea, right? The guy goes in there, he finds this crap, and he turns himself into the authorities. And when he did that, when he turned himself in, they went and they found this. Now, again, it's alleged that the Afghans are the ones that are working in this. And I ended up telling you guys that explosions and things like that were taking place downtown over inside of Tehran. And I mean that. I don't think we're out of the ballpark of a regime change yet. I think Mossad's actually still heavily involved over inside of Tehran. And I think they're still conducting targeted strikes with drones. Wayne Quigley says, Sky News UK also trying to say it is tribesmen while standing with men all dressed in black with ISIS badges and sleeves. Right. That's the other funny thing about Marco Rubio's statement. You know how many ISIS freaking flags and stuff I've seen in Syria, dude? Don't even get me started. The amount of ISIS flags I've seen running around inside southern Syria will make you sick. Like, honestly, it will make you sick. Holy freaking cow, man. I don't even know where to get at it. I don't even know where to begin. Anyways, here's footage of the explosion in Iran, and then we're going to head back over into Syria. Sorry I let that video lapse. I just read Linda Lulu's comment over in the chat. Look at what I just commented and then look at hers like right above it. And I was just like, whoa, didn't expect that out of Linda Lu. I always picture Linda as like this wholesome, good-hearted human being that like wouldn't be into that kind of crap. All right, so this ended up coming out yesterday. All right, these are allegedly forces from Jelani's regime. Some guy says, "Happy birthday, Matt. Thank you for everything." I appreciate you, some guy. These are allegedly forces from, Jelani's regime, explicitly stating that they reject the ceasefire agreement and that they are going to continue into the Druze villages and kill them. So here is HTS rejecting the ceasefire yesterday, threatening to kill the Druze.
على ما تم تداوله في الإعلام بأن تم الاتفاق مع الهجري بأن تدخل قوات الأمن السوري إلى محافظة السويدة، ونحن أبناء القبائل العربية الذين تقدمنا وأخذنا المحافظة مرتين وقدمنا شهداء ودماء ونقضوا الاتفاق وينقضون العهد. لا ميثاق عندكم. نحن الآن مسيطرون على 15 قرية للطائفة الدرزية، ولن نخرج من هذه القرى إلا بأن يبسط الأمن العام.
Do we get the idea? They're yelling and squiggly. They're pissed off. They're rejecting it. They're pissed off at Jelani. And this is what I tried to say last week, was that if people, like if Jelani actually tried to tell his men that he's not allowed to go in and do that, he's going to end up losing popular support. And what you're seeing in this video is his men straight up rejecting this ceasefire, just straight up rejecting it. And so Jelani's got to allow them to do what they want to do so that he can remain in power. Whether or not he's changed his heart, I highly doubt it, right? I highly, highly doubt it, but we know for dang sure that his fighters haven't. Dylan says 21 months and finally able to catch a live with Matt. Happy birthday, Matt. Dylan, dude, I can't believe you've been around for 21 months, man, and haven't been able to catch a freaking live show yet. That just hurts my heart, brother. I don't know. Do I need to do more of these? Oh, my goodness. Yesterday, we ended up getting word that clashes ended up resuming right around midday here in the United States of America, that the ceasefire completely broke down and that the forces were going after it. There was a little bit of hope yesterday evening when we ended up seeing this. These were buses with hostages, allegedly, that were getting brought in from, what do you want to call them, Jelani's men down outside of Sueda somewhere, talking about, being open for an exchange. And personally, I think this was just a show for the international community, because at this time, you still had firefights and everything else that were taking place. James Power says, thanks for all that prayed for my wife and her job search. She lost her job several months back and has had 10 interviews in the past 2 weeks. James, wow, dude, that's amazing. I can't, mind blown as far as the power of prayers go, man. I hope she ends up finding one very, very soon. I really do. I think I do believe in that. I want to show you guys this video. This ended up coming out yesterday, and this is a captured HTS fighter inside of Sueda that ended up getting taken by the Druze, and they ended up interviewing him. Now, I'm going to warn you guys that there may or may not be some graphic content in the smaller upper portion of this screen, but I think it's important for you guys to see what's actually taking place and going on down there. And I think it's important that you guys listen to what this man was told before they ended up getting sent down there. And this is yet another reason why the Druze ended up rejecting this alleged ceasefire.
من وين يا محمد؟ من ريف حمال الغربي، سهل الغاب العشارة. لمين تابع أنت؟ للفرقة 62 وزارة الدفاع أبو عمشة. أبو عمشة.
Now, what you see over there in the top left corner of the screen is, HTS guys painting over the top of their vehicles last week when they got told to pull out. I know I reported that. Some of you guys might not have seen that, but that is HTS fighters, those men that fall underneath Jelani, the de facto president in Syria, painting over the top of their vehicles to take them down to Sueda and start massacring the Druze. That followed the Israeli airstrikes that pushed them out of town.
كيف تحركتوا لهون وكيف جيتوا لهون على سويدا؟
Thank you, N. Gray. Happy birthday, Linda Lou.
طلع في هون.
وتوجهوا هون 800 سيارة.
كم سيارة؟
800 سيارة.
نعم.
دخلوا على أزرع بدرعة.
نعم.
ارتاحوا.
نعم.
وكملوا لهون على الولغة.
وين؟
على الولغة.
نعم.
من الولغة صلوا الفجر ودخلوا.
وين صليتوا الفجر؟
بالولغة.
بالولغة. شو معكم؟ كلكم عرب انتوا؟
لا، في تقريبا شي 200 أو 300 شخص مهاجرين. أوزبكستان وتركستان.
أيوة. شو شغلتهم هذول؟
شي حراري وشي هندسة وشي.
ايوه شو كمان؟
بس هذا اللي بعرفه. ودخلوا على المحور نصين من الولغة.
نعم. بس لقطوا انتوا الشخص الدرزي شو بتعملوا فيه؟
يا عم يقتلوه يا عم ينحروا.
ابدا، كبير صغير مرة ما في عندكم؟
وفروا حدا.
شو السبب؟ إبادة طائفي يعني هيك قالوا لكم؟ هيك شيء. طلع فيه رد علي مثل الخلق. أنا ضربتك شكاف؟ لا. إبادة طائفي ولا شو قالوا لك؟ صحيح هيك عم تجي التوجيهات. من مين؟ من القادات. حلو. شو القادات عم يقولوا لكم؟ ما تقولوا شو؟ ما تجيبوا طاري وزارة الدفاع. ليش؟ مشان الطيران الإسرائيلي ما يجي يستهدف. مين بده يستهدف؟ بده يستهدف السيارات والمجموعات اللي داخله. نعم. شو انتو شو عساس؟ انتو شو عساس؟ عشاير. عشاير. اساس انه عشاير توحدت ودخلت. ايوه، وانتو بالاساس لمين تابعين؟ شيء لوزارة الدفاع، شيء
I hope you guys heard everything that he ended up saying. He ended up confirming, number one, the general in which he falls under that swears his allegiance to Jelani. Then he ended up telling you about all the foreign fighters that were coming in. Then he ended up telling you how they got instructed to disguise themselves so that Israel wouldn't target them with airstrikes. All of those things happened over this weekend over inside of Syria, over the last 5 days, I guess, over inside of Syria. So you had the foreign fighters flooding in. You had those massacres taking place that you ended up seeing in the top right or top left corner of that video after they ended up disguising themselves. And I'm going to warn you guys, like, as these videos continue to go along, it's not going to get pretty. It's not going to look any better. Okay. As I like told you, I've got one coming up of a gentleman that literally had his heart cut out. Now, over inside of Sueda, this video ended up coming out yesterday. Druze were holding up very, very tight. Very, very tight. What you're about to see is some HTS fighters that are on the ground over inside Sueda, and they're facing a Druze sniper. That Druze sniper is, like you see these men over here at the screen. It's about to zoom in on them. Allegedly, the sniper ended up shooting somebody, and that these men ended up going out and getting them. And then you're about to see this guy just run out and go full freaking Hodge with his AK and end up getting popped. Now, if you listen closely, right about here, you can hear him scream because he ended up getting hit in either the arm or possibly in the leg. Big Bork, a little bite, says, one day pants check will reveal Ranger panties. One day the pants checks will reveal Ranger panties, but today I'll have you know I am wearing shorts and feeling good and intact with that. Craig Morris coming in, gifting out a 5 Speak the Truth memberships. Thank you, Craig Morris. Greatly appreciate it. Let's continue on with this video. So looks like he took one to the arm. Looks like he took a flyer to the arm. And I really don't understand why he thinks that, like, or why any of them think like this tactic has never worked for them, running out in the open and just cranking off rounds in the general direction of a sniper, unless you're just drawing fire maybe to help evacuate those casualties. Other than that, I don't know what the hell that guy was thinking or why he would do that. And yeah, he got the enemy marksmanship award. So good on him for doing that. Here is a view from what I believe is, let me make sure. Yep. This is inside Sueda. This video came out yesterday. This is the aftermath of Jelani's men entering into the outskirts of Sueda. Thanks, Mirimu. If I said your name right. Yeah, that's not Call of Duty. That's real life. That's what ended up taking place. And real life Call of Duty, I'll let you guys know, isn't nearly as fun as you would think. Ended up showing this video last week, and I want to make sure that it's perfectly clear because Marco Rubio had just stated that our goal is to keep the ISIS fighters out. And if we don't want to see an influx of ISIS fighters, well, we better be making sure the HTS does their job, right? We should be backing them, and they're heavily engaged in the international community. What about this guy? What about that guy? Right there, smack dab in the center of his chest. That is an ISIS flag. And again, this got taken in Sueda last week when HTS ended up rolling in order to help them out. Now, I can play this video, and I'll just put it on silent because you end up hearing him speak squiggly. He says, in the name of Allah, the most merciful, prayers and salutations upon my prophet Muhammad. Right now, the Ansar al-Tawhid brigades of the 82nd Division are preparing to enter the city of Sueda. Now, notice how he's talking about the 82nd Division. So he's speaking about HTS while wearing an ISIS flag. In order to purify it from the filth of the Druze. Druze leader Hikmat and his followers. Oh Allah, give us success. How about them apples? TL sends 5 Speak the Truth memberships. Just got gifted out to y'all. Make sure you guys scoop those up. Make sure if you haven't yet that you were subscribed to the channel and your notifications are turned on. This gentleman, believe it or not, is a Syrian YouTuber. The one that I'm about to put up on your screen is a Syrian YouTuber. Syrian YouTuber. He's a refugee over in the Netherlands, and he decided to get his butt back into Syria to go murder the Druze.
يا دروز انتم اهلنا وربعنا يا دروز بس اقسم بالله الهجري وجماعته تعرف كم وحده من الذرايبي بالشرقيه نفك ونركب ايه من نخلص عليكم ديروا بالكم بقبلش تقبلوا نص احمد الشرع قضبها وضبطها دوله وانت جاي تخربها عكروت ثوره الجيش يلا حيهم حيهم الشباب الله حيهم.
Now look at all those men over there. Now I want you to think about this. What do you think the odds are with all of these foreign fighters pouring into Syria right now? Because I done warned you about Jolani, and I done warned you that I think that he might start a new caliphate because he does have blood ties to Muhammad, the prophet. Peace be upon him. Maybe his men that say peace be upon him should bring peace upon the freaking world by stopping their jihadist ways. But they won't. And I think Jolani, there's a good solid chance that he's going to end up starting a new caliphate with his influx of all these foreign fighters. TL comes in, gifting out 5 Speak the Truth memberships. Thank you, TL. And Dylan just comes in, dropping $2 with a banana on the end of his name. Gotta love that. Xavier Reyes, happy birthday, Matt. Do you think the Israeli army will move ground forces in to support the Druze? Here's the thing. I would bet, that's a solid question, by the way, Xavier. That is a very solid question. Here's the thing. I think if that ends up happening, right, if they end up doing that. Now, there was reports yesterday that Israel was conducting airstrikes over in the area in order to push some of them back. There was. I wasn't able to get that confirmed yet, but there was reports of it. Here's the thing. If Israeli ground troops go in there and actually start fighting, because there is Israeli ground troops over inside of Syria, for those that don't know, but they are currently, within the buffer zone. Let me get you out of Iran and get back over into Syria. They're currently within that buffer zone, defending up over around Mount Hermon and all the way up over along the Golan Heights, because they don't want this crap to spill over the border, which, by the way, people have threatened once the Druze are done that they're going to turn and they're going to ride on Israel. So there is the possibility that after they murder the Druze in the south, if nothing's done within the international community, if they end up murdering the Druze, that those forces are going to turn west and start storming towards Israel. And if Israel sees that coming, they're going to start conducting airstrikes, and then they're going to have forces on the ground, and there's going to be a pretty damn big firefight that's going to take place. And that, in my opinion, is where the danger of Jolani declaring a caliphate comes into place. I got a feeling that he'll step up and he'll say, look at this Israeli aggression messing with Syrian affairs. Look at what they're doing. I'm calling on all Muslims from around the world to come and join me in this fight against the Jews who are massacring the Palestinians, who are going in and massacring Syrians, and who are not respecting the new government, right? Or the new president, which would be himself, that got voted in by HTS forces. And I'm going to personally blame Marco Rubio for this crap because he's the jackwagon that ended up ruining their FTO designation last week, and a week and a half ago. And all it took was like 1 week after him removing that designation for them to start getting back to their dang jihadi ways. Keith Lewis coming in with 10. He says, happy birthday, Matt. Enjoy your milkshake today. Hey, thank you, Keith. I really appreciate that, man. I really, really do. Don't worry. You guys are going to see me tonight. When you're like 41 years old, you really don't give a crap, right? Like, this is yet another day. I had to get reminded yesterday that today was my birthday. That's how little I truthfully care about it. Santi, becoming a true supporter. Thank you very much, Santi. Really, really appreciate it. Whew. God, I hate freaking, it's going to get bad. I'm telling you, it's going to get bad before it gets worse. Here's a look at the Sydney Center downtown in Sueda yesterday around 8 a.m. Central Standard Time.
السويداء وضع مأساوي وضع مأساوي. اليوم 20/7/2025 اياك 20/7/2025 السويدة منكوبة، بيوت محروقة، جثث بالطرقات، السيارات محروقة. هاي اللي خلفته عصابات الجولاني بعد ما دخلت هي اللي خلفته عصابات الجولاني بعد ما دخلت على محافظة السويدة لمدة أقل من 3 أيام، يومين لحد 3 أيام. هي يلي قالوا لنا جايين يفكوا يحفظوا النظام، جايين يفكوا النزاع ما بين الدروز والبدو.
هذول كلاب الجولاني عرصات اخوان المنيوسي، هذول كلاب الجولاني.
السويدة منكوبة يا جماعة، السويدة منكوبة.
خليهم نسبنا للأمم المتحدة. وين حقوق الشيء؟
هاي للعالم يلي عم بتابع أخبار السويدة.
No, I don't think Marco Rubio, I see that comment down there. Rubio wants Jelani to screw up so Israel can deal with them. No, I don't think so. I don't think that's the case at all. I think Marco Rubio really thought that he was making the right call. I think Donald Trump really thought he was making the right call. I think that this goes back to the same damn problem. And you want to know what I think it is? You want to know what I think the problem is? And I'm going to leave this video up while I continue to rant. All right, I'm going to let it roll again. Here's what I think the problem is. I think the same problem that happened to Israel on October 7th, that same concept of complacency and that somehow you can just allow radical Islam to exist and it's not going to affect you as long as you be nice to them, that is going to work. I think that's what Marco Rubio and Donald Trump, I think they all fell into that silly little trap that Israelis fell in that caused them to get massacred on October 7th. It's the same dang trap the United States of America fell in over inside of Afghanistan, thinking that as long as we just buy them soccer balls and give them humanitarian aid, that they're going to turn from their jihadist ways. And what this administration is failing to understand, what all of these radical freaking idiots that think that you can deal with this are failing to understand. And by the way, if Kamala Harris was in charge, this situation would be 10 times worse, FYI. But I think what all of these idiots are failing to understand is that radical ideological belief that is rooted in Islam is never going to change. No amount of humanitarian aid, no amount of laws written, no amount of anything that's done in this world is ever, ever, ever going to turn them away from who they perceive as their God, who they think has given them the divine right to the land of Israel, who they think has given them the right to massacre people in the name of Islam. It's never going to turn them away from it. Paul Allen says, happy birthday, young man, coming in gifting out $10, man. I really appreciate that. Michael Snell says, happy birthday, Matt. Have a nice day. Best wishes, mate. Hey, thank you, brother. Appreciate you guys, man. Like birthday wishes, man. I love them, and thank you guys very much. I did say that I don't really care about it, and that is true. I could care less. Age is yet a number. I want you guys to pay attention to what this young woman says. This is a very short clip. It's about 24 seconds long. This ended up coming out a little bit later yesterday evening. It ends up laying out kind of what took place when HTS ended up pushing in before the Druze were able to kind of push him back a little bit. They burned our homes. They threw them away. Many of the children, a 2-month-old baby was killed along with my father, his mother, and his uncle. A 2-month-old baby. And there's a video that's out, by the way, which I don't even think I put in the stack today, that shows a TV interview being conducted over inside Syria of HTS forces, or Bedouins, as everybody thinks that they are right now. God forbid we actually let everybody know that it's HTS and foreign fighters that are doing this crap. That had a baby in the backseat of the car, and they're like bragging about it. There was another news interview of these people after they had pulled out of Sueda from yesterday that showed them with war brides in the back of their car that they had pulled out of Sueda. There was another one that had children in the back of their car they were running off with. I can't express to you enough how much this reminds me of the BS that happened on October 7th. and how it's getting worse. The difference is Israel was able to fight back and push their butts back across the border. It's been going on for a week now. And we're seeing babies get killed. We're seeing people get abducted. We're seeing women brides getting taken. We're seeing children getting taken, ripped out of their families. We're seeing houses getting burnt to the ground. We're seeing genocide taking place. And yet the international community is pretending like that's not what's actually happening. The international community is pretending like this is just a bunch of tribesmen that are pissed off. They're not talking about the foreign fighters pouring in from like, you know, different freaking countries. They're not talking about Jelani's men taking off their uniform and running out there. They're not talking about Jelani's men letting everybody go and do whatever the hell they want to do. Don't make a man out of them. They killed them. They didn't spare anyone. They slaughtered all of them. They killed all of the family with hot coals. They burned our homes. They didn't leave a house untouched. They destroyed everything. And if you watched the video earlier of what was taking place, where those guys were standing on the balcony and then they ended up falling off as rifle fire was exploding, that video actually continues on. The one that I showed earlier. That video actually continues on, and those men start working their way through that house. And as they're working their way through the house, they start entering another room, and you can hear gunfire going off in that room, and then the video ends up cutting out. Make no mistake about it. There is clear evidence that they were going in and massacring everybody. Everybody that they came across. Everybody. And if they take over, we're likely going to miss the bulk of that evidence. The bulk of it. Now, on the plus side, yesterday, was it yesterday, I think? Or was it today? Yeah, it was yesterday. On the plus side, yesterday, Israel decided it would be a good idea to send in humanitarian aid. I'm going to turn this off. Here you can see a bunch of trucks that are making their way down into Sueda. Now, this would make sense for why we ended up hearing rumors of Israeli airstrikes yesterday, because of this massive convoy of humanitarian aid was on its way down in there, and people went to go interdict it while Israel would have defended these convoys to make sure that it ends up getting in there. And so if that actually happened, that's exactly what I think went down. Like if everything was true about those airstrikes, it was likely defending these convoys that were on their way down to Sueda. And believe me, they did end up making their way into Sueda. Here you can actually see the Druze yesterday that were receiving that humanitarian aid. I see the TK talks going on in the chat. Yeah, it's kind of nice that he ended up coming out and admitting to like stolen valor, claiming, well, misunderstanding, or maybe had led people to believe that he had them. Bro, it was up on your website. It was flat out up on your website. It was on your speaker's bio claiming that you had a Bronze Star for valor. It is. And there's audio that ended up getting leaked that ended up coming out saying that, like you, again, alleging medals for valor. And after that audio got leaked, I got a feeling you ended up hearing what I was up to, and you got scared, and you ended up coming out. This next video that I'm going to end up putting up on the screen, and I'm going to leave it at that. This next video that I'm going to end up putting up on the screen, yeah, he lied. That's correct. This next video that I'm going to end up putting up on the screen is going to be blurred out. I am giving you a warning before I play this video. It is still it is blurred out as per YouTube's policies. It is blurred out. But I want to let you know what you're about to see. And I'm showing this for documentary purposes is allowed by YouTube policies, so nobody freak out. But what you're about to see is a Druze, somebody from the Druze, that got killed by HTS and that had their heart cut out. Yep.
بس بشوف وصل عايش لا يا شباب هيك عايش فوت وش في الزمن شلون يفوت انا فزت على اقول لك فزت لغايه اخته وين اخته مدنيه كلها اخته.
You guys see that? Now this is one video that's blurred out that I'm going to be able to show you guys. There's another one. There's actually several of them out there. of HTS literally taking these guys and cutting their heads off, like decapitating them, like beheading them. I have seen so much grotesque crap over this weekend that I had to take a break. There's a reason I didn't go live this weekend watching this stuff go down. I had to take a break. It's not good for my mental health to watch people being decapitated all weekend and then blur those videos out and come in and show you guys blurred out videos of the decapitations, of people's hearts being cut out, of babies being killed. They weren't just shooting people. Yeah, a lot of people got shot. That's just a fact. But they're taking it a step further. And if you needed some confirmation that what is taking place down inside Sueda and in that area requires international attention, it requires them to go in there, and that these people are not going to stop, this video ought to do that for you. MT says Syrian Christian family of 20, all off. Silence from everyone who was outraged at 2 unintentional, still sad casualties from shrapnel in Gaza. And we don't even know if that's true, by the way. And I, believe it or not, even though I went on the news and ended up calling them out, for those of you that don't know, I think it was Friday evening, Thursday or Friday evening, I forget which one. When I went on Stinchfield Tonight and I started talking about the Catholic Church that ended up getting caught by shrapnel over inside Gaza, where they alleged that like 12 people were wounded and 3 people were killed. And then you saw the picture of what looked like the church being destroyed. For those of you that don't know, they held mass that evening that the church allegedly got leveled, and they held mass inside of that church. And I heard what happened, and I heard why the Catholic Church ended up putting out what they put out. And let me tell you something. I hope that comes to light. And I'm not going to say it right now, but I hope it comes to light why that church, and I'm just going to let you guys know, likely the church ended up getting forced to say that. Likely the church ended up getting forced to put that out there. And I'll let you draw your own conclusion as to why. And I hope the Pope comes out and makes a damning statement as soon as that situation's resolved. Miriam says, Matt, did you see the Saudi prince died on the 19th? I did not. He's been in a coma for 20 years, but then this weekend popped off. I didn't see that. No, I didn't. I'll look into it. Michael Snells, wow, so horrible. These people have no conscience. No kidding. RDL Snare, Matt, what no one wants to admit is that this Islamic jihad is the problem. Eliminating it would be considered on the same level as the Holocaust by some. Admitting that the West has bought into this crap, admitting that the word Islamophobia is, in my opinion, what has allowed this to happen, right? Admitting that people bought into this Zionist lie that's out there in the world is absolutely remarkable. And it's so freaking bad. You guys want to see something? Do you want to see something? This guy, check this out. This guy, since I want to say it was April, maybe before that. Let me rewind this video. April 17th is the first message this guy ended up DMing me over on IG. And my IG is the same as my X. It's below my name. And I want you to look at the amount of like Jew hate that this guy has sent my way, the amount of cuss words that he's thrown my way, claiming to be a Christian and everything else, talking about how the Jews murdered Jesus and so on and so forth. And how dare I defend them after, like, you know, the Catholic Church ends up getting bombed and all of this crap. And claiming to be a Christian. And I want you to think about that for 1 second. And I ended up giving him a response over on IG. And I kind of do want to address it. I mean, just kind of in a way. So I ended up posting this over on my IG, right? Let me see if I can pull it up real quick so I can tell you guys exactly what I ended up saying to him, because I think it's absolutely valid. What I ended up telling him was, I said, for the sake of your soul, I really hope you find Jesus. You claim to be a Christian, but your heart screams it needs some work. I'm not a man of the cloth, but I will offer you some words of advice. Try talking to God about this, not my DMs. Honestly, do not know it was possible to hate Jews this much without being a Nazi. I despise radical Islamists. I still pray for their souls. I also had to learn to understand that I do not know everything, and I never walked a day in their shoes. I was never born in their radical teachings. I was never taught to hate from a young age and lied to. If I was born in Gaza and I was raised by a Hamas fighter, I have no doubt in my mind that I would be a jihadist. However, I wasn't. Knowing what I know today, I would pray that somebody would take me out before I strangle a baby in the name of Islam. Good luck to you, sir, and I hope that you find peace in all of your hate. And I put Matthew 5:44. You should read it. It's for a reason that I ended up putting that in there. Anybody know that particular chunk of scripture off the top of their heads? Matthew 5:44. Somebody do me a favor. Go grab that and put it down in the chat for people. Because I think even today it applies as we're going through all of this. You should be praying for your enemies. No matter how evil they are, you should still pray for them and their souls. Because believe it or not, God cares about their souls as much as he does yours. Absolute flabbergasted that man calls himself a Christian. Absolutely flabbergasted by it. What was the last thing I talked about? Oh yeah, the guy with his chest being cut open. I forgot about. So that's ongoing down inside Syria as we speak. And I'll be back today with some updates for you guys on that entire situation. Now I want to take your attention over to Gaza because it's not getting any better. MT says, so you met those who disbelieve. Strike Neeks until when you have inflicted slaughter upon them. Quran 47:4. Yeah, there you go. How about that? Big difference between the two religions. You go read Matthew 5:44 and then read that verse right there that MT just put up from the Quran. Israel is conducting airstrikes over inside Gaza throughout the weekend. Up in the north, there were some pretty heavy ones that ended up getting reported. Some very, very big airstrikes that were taking place. Just blowing the hell out of them. Taking the fight to him left and right. Just going off. New offensive operations look like they're taking place a little bit further down the south. New levels of, how do I want to say this, Takia are coming out from Hamas over inside Gaza. And meanwhile, as Israel's conducting these airstrikes and they're defending their troops and everything else is going on, they're still currently dealing with, I don't know, what's taking place over inside Syria. Little Iggy says, any tips on how to get my first girlfriend? You know what, Little Iggy? It's funny. I had this conversation yesterday. You ready? Yeah, I got tips for you. Young men, I want you to listen to me before I start going into Gaza. Let me give you guys some life advice. Figure out what it is that you want in a female. Figure out what it is that you're looking for in a female. Figure out how you want her to treat you. Figure out how you want her family to be. Figure out how you want her to interact. Confirm who she says she is when you meet her family and hold off for that. And when you meet that woman, when you meet that female, be honest about it. Tell her how you feel. Be open and feel her out. You know, it's absolutely amazing today, the amount of games that both male and females play on each other when it comes to dating. And there's really no need for it. You know what women want? Women want a strong and confident man that's able to just go up to them and say, hey, I like you. My name is so-and-so. Here's why. That way they know your intentions are pure and they know that you see them for who they actually are. If you get it wrong, you get it wrong. Or maybe they'll end up rejecting you in one way, shape, or form. But just be honest, young man. Be honest and know what you're looking for. And when you find it, be honest and be honest as to why you're interested and be honest and pure in your intentions. Here's some more fighting videos that came out of Gaza. All right. Redneck Yankee, I want to thank you for posting Matthew 5:44. We'll use that for today's devotional. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Yeah, and I hope I didn't miss any super chats because everything just reset. MT said NEKKS equals next. Sorry, kept getting blocked. Does that mean I missed something from you, Mr. MT? I feel like maybe I did. So now I've got to let that reload and get back in there. And as soon as it does, I will make sure that I find that and read it out to you. Now, I also told you guys that over inside Gaza, right? So here we are over outside Damascus, was where we were talking in the last video. I ended up showing you, ended up coming out of Gaza. Then we've got issues outside of Khan Yunis with all of the different crap that's coming in, right? We've got rumors of massacres that are taking place outside of the HA distribution points that are being ran by SRS, American Contracting Company, and you got Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, right, is the main driving factor behind them. Gaza Humanitarian Foundation ended up getting a spokesperson coming out, and that spokesperson ended up addressing a lot of the different concerns over the weekend, and it's pretty much right in line with what I'm telling you. But this, for the first time, is a video that ended up coming out yesterday out of Gaza, and I think it's important that everybody be able to take a look at it. I'm going to put that up here. Now, why do I think this video is important to show? Because I'm about to show you another one. Humanitarian aid situation, I believe, is at a critical juncture over inside Gaza. All right. And here you see the Israelis on the outskirts of likely one of these HA distribution points. Now, the Israelis, the IDF, ends up getting called in order to defend these HA distribution points. If there's about to be overran or issues, they do a show of force and they show up. But I want you to look at this mass amount of people that are storming that area and how the IDF does not fire upon them. They just hold their ground and nothing ends up happening. End up holding back. Are people down? Yes. But you also end up hearing orders that are coming out from the soldiers on the ground not to fire upon these people, even though it's a massive crowd. And some of you might sit back and say, hey, well, that's evidence that Israelis are going to fire upon these people. Well, I'll let you know from personal experience. I don't talk about war very much. I don't brag. I'm not a TK type. I don't come in and do it. But I'm saying this portion just to bring some gravity to this situation right here. One of the most scared moments I ever had in my life, like where I about crap myself, was over inside of Iraq during a massive freaking riot, where electricity was being cut off during Ramadan, and people, like at nighttime during Ramadan, and people weren't able to eat. It's for those of you that are unfamiliar with this, like nothing is allowed to touch their lips during the daytime throughout Ramadan. Once the sun ends up going down, that's when they cook, that's when they eat, that's when they drink, that's when they celebrate. They're not allowed to smoke, they're not allowed to drink, they're not allowed to do crap. And so when the electricity ended up getting turned off at the nighttime with these rolling blackouts, people got pissed because they couldn't cook their food and they couldn't eat. They were really upset at the government, and they ended up rioting. They ripped most of the dang city apart. And my truck ended up facing a massive wall of people bigger than that. Ended up rolling right up into the middle of it. Talked about this situation many times, and I'm telling you right now, like, there is a reason that that order ended up getting given in this situation, because it is a scary situation when you have so many people and you're about to get overran and you don't know if your head's going to get cut off and displayed on Al Jazeera. So please don't sit here and try to tell me that that Israeli soldier giving the order not to fire upon them is by somehow, shows that they were always firing upon these people. That's not how that works. So yeah, going back to MT, his comment, he said, so when you meet those who disbelieve, strike their necks until when you have inflicted slaughter upon them. Slaughter upon them. Yep, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. Paul Allen says, you should watch the video I posted. It helps us with info about Islam. It's long, but it's good. All right, Paul. Chrisers came in, gifting us Speak the Truth membership. MT came in again, said, Hassam Soraya, American citizens offered with his family in Syria. Offed with his family in Syria. Earlier, I shared the Quran verse that says to behead unbelievers. Yeah. So it's funny, MT, that you end up bringing that up. Obviously, I can't play that video, right? It shows, I think it was 4 or 5 people getting shot over in that traffic circle. Last week when that video came out, that video is actually, I think, from Thursday or Friday. And last week when that video came out, they tried to make it appear as if it was Druze that were shooting HTS fighters. That's actually what I thought it was, because that's how it was being reported. As it turns out, that's actually HTS fighters that killed Americans. So I have to make a correction saying that I saw a video that showed Druze slaughtering HTS fighters in the middle of a traffic circle. As it turns out, those were Americans from Oklahoma, if I remember correct. Correct me if I'm wrong. Who was it that put that super chat in there? MT? Yeah. I believe he was American from Oklahoma that was over there that ended up getting shot and his whole family killed. So Americans are getting killed over there. Just to let you know, Marco Rubio. Texas Bully Mom says, happy birthday. Enjoy your birthday shake with the kiddos. I will. I don't consume a lot of sugar. It's not something that I do. And honestly, a milkshake sounds really good. Get back you guys back over inside Gaza. Here you go. What you see here, these two gentlemen, this is what you want to watch in the top corner of your screen. This is an HA distribution point. You're going to see one of these guys, obviously pulling security, storming to the front, and another guy that's attempting to take control of clearly an out-of-control situation. Now, SRS and their spokesperson, GHF, their spokesperson, is coming out saying that they have control of the situation, that everything's going good. And then we end up seeing videos like this that come out. So what you see taking place in that video is clearly a can of pepper spray and then a guy with a megaphone that's out there shouting at people to clear back and to push back. And they're doing their best to basically hoard them like sheep with pepper spray. That's the best that they can do. So I do believe that the humanitarian aid situation, the longer this takes place, I don't think that GHF can actually keep up with the demand that is being drawn over inside Gaza. And it's creating a pepper box situation where the whole thing's about to explode. And I mean that sincerely. I really do. And I think that as all that's going on, well, you know what? Before I do that, so you saw the last two videos. Now I want you to take a look at what they're actually putting out via their spokesperson.
Now here at one of our sites, and you can see all of our GHF aid being ready to be distributed. You can see local aid workers pulling some boxes aside for women and children to make sure that they are taken care of. You can see our people are feeding primarily women and children, held food back for them, ensure that they didn't get left behind. That's what GHF does. Make sure as many people as possible can be fed safely and securely. We're going to keep doing it until the need is met. Imagine what we could be doing if the UN and the other international humanitarian aid organizations were helping us instead of trying to get us to stop what we're doing. We're not.
Well, I think if the UN was actually doing their job and taking part and helping distribute the humanitarian aid and providing armed escorts to make sure Hamas doesn't steal it, we wouldn't have seen the previous two videos. I also think that if you actually want to prove that the UN is not doing their job and it's causing issues, that maybe inside of the videos that you end up releasing, that you show the same things I ended up showing in the previous videos, which is people are pissed off. And people are getting really hungry and that the situation is extremely unstable. I have no doubt that this is an authentic video and that this is one of the distributions that ended up taking place. But to deny that the other freaking, issues are taking place over there doesn't exactly give a lot of gravity that the UN needs to step in. There, it looks like you guys have great control in the situation. And I don't think you do. I don't. I really don't. And I think it's only going to get worse. So I really hope that they end up taking care of it. I really do. Oh, my goodness. That situation's out of control. All of it is out of control. Deir Abala. Looks like Israeli troops have found their way in there. There you can see it. All right, I'm going to play this. Here you got Israeli troops moving into Deir Abala. It's the first time they've been in there in a very long time. Here's your confirmation. It's, I don't know how to say that. Israel's continuing with their strikes. Now, this video ended up getting shared. All right, I'm going to take you guys out of Gaza. Obviously, I'll continue to give you guys updates on Gaza. We're watching the situation inside of Syria very closely over what's taken place, over the last like 7 days or so. Obviously keeping an eye on Iran, but also keeping an eye down here inside of Yemen. All right. I'm still keeping my feelers out for what's taking place inside of Yemen for obvious reasons, because they fired multiple ballistic missiles at Israel. They fired multiple drones at Israel. They're still keeping up with what they're supposed to be doing. They're a proxy force of Iran, and Iran is having new explosions that's taking place pretty much on a daily basis all around Iran. They are capturing people. They are, kicking out freaking Afghans. And it looks like their proxy forces over inside of Lebanon and inside of Yemen have ramped up as well. And Israel, I don't think, is taking that lying down. There's reports that Israeli drone strikes have actually taken place over inside of Yemen within the last 12 hours.
حصل عليها التلفزيون العربي للغارات الإسرائيلية على ميناء الحديدة اليوم. إذن هذه صور خاصة للتلفزيون العربي حصل عليها لقصف ميناء الحديدة اليوم. تظهر في الصورة سحب الدخان بشكل واضح. فيما قالت هيئة البث وقال الجيش الإسرائيلي إنما استخدم في هذه العملية كما جاء إسرائيليا هي مسيرات وليست طائرات حربية. إذن صور خاصة بالتلفزيون العربي تظهر.
Now, allegedly, these drone strikes ended up coming in. I don't think it's going to really have any effect. Israel's pretty damn busy, and I'm pretty sure they're going to keep their aircraft and their ordnance kind of in reserves for everything that's going on, and that's likely why we're seeing drone strikes. That's kind of why I find that a little bit credible. Because Israel needs to preserve a bunch of its aircraft. It needs to preserve a bunch of its military in case the situation inside Syria seriously spins out of control. Those Druze could be overran and killed within the next 24 hours if this thing continues to spiral the way in which it does. And once that happens, we already have people on the ground, HTS fighters, foreign fighters, ISIS fighters, etc., that have vowed that they're going to turn west and they're going to start heading towards Israel. Israel's going to need to be able to defend themselves from those fighters if that actually occurs. And right now, the way things are unfolding on the ground is it's starting to look that way. All of the attempts for a ceasefire have failed. Multiple failed attempts for a ceasefire have taken place over the course of this weekend, and I think it's only going to get worse. So, here's what I think. I think that unless international forces actually step in, and I'm not talking about just humanitarian aid, I'm talking about a complete reversal from the Trump administration on Jolani and his forces. I think they need to come clean and they need to say quite literally what is happening. And if they don't, that situation is just going to get worse, because unless the Trump administration says, you know what, Jolani, we gave you a shot and you ruined it. You ruined it. Welcome back to the FTO list. And that's how the United States of America is going to treat you from now on. Sanctions are now going to start getting placed back on Syria. And then the pressure of the international community to start doing something about it over there locally. I don't think the United States should get involved. I don't think Israel should get involved, but I definitely think the UN needs to get their butts down there. Quite literally, UN peacekeepers. That's what they're supposed to do, right? Keep the peace, not HTS fighters, not ISIS fighters, not foreign fighters. UN peacekeepers need to get their butts down there immediately and put a stop to this. Because if they don't, that whole community is going to get wiped out. And those jihadists, you mark my words, listen to me here as I bring you in close. Those jihadists are going to turn west and they're going to start marching on Israel. They will. And when that happens, Israel will defend themselves and they're going to push back hard. And a lot of people are going to die. The moment that inkling that's happening, bombs are going to start falling. And when those bombs fall, it's going to trigger a freaking shitstorm across the Middle East. And there's going to be tons of foreign fighters that flow into Syria. That whole country is going to destabilize, and Israel is going to be back defending yet another border once again. The Trump administration seriously needs to reverse its frickin' designation of HTS. Period. Full stop. No questions asked. That needs to happen, and the pressure needs put on the international community. Period. There's no other way to go about it. Texas Bully Mom says, happy birthday. Enjoy your birthday shake with kiddos. KG Suleiman says, happy birthday, Big Don. Coming and gifting out 10. Elijah Hansen, happy birthday. How much just to shave your mustache off? LOL. Bro, you're not going to get me to shave my mustache off. That ain't going to happen. But, you know, hold on. Let me think about this. How many people would consider. I'm just curious, out of all of the men that are in, I want to run a poll real quick before I end up going into the devotional. I want to run a poll. And this question is for men with beards. Hold on. Don't go anywhere. I'm just curious. If I end up doing it, will you? Look at the chat. GA says, happy birthday, Matt. Do you think al-Jawlani green lighted the attack or has just lost control? No, there is actual like audio recording evidence that Jawlani ended up green lighting the attack. That's a thing. So I ended up putting this question down in the chat, and I'm curious to know if it's actually going to get support. I said, men with beards, would you shave your mustache off to bring attention to the massacre of the Druze in Syria? Now, the reason I ended up saying that is because that is exactly what HTS is doing before they murder these people. I see a lot of people say, nope, hell no, nope, 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 nope from the champ. Well, let me ask you this question. What if I lead the way and do it? What if I end up shaving my mustache off? Would you? Would you guys actually consider doing that? I'm just curious. Dr. Tung says, thanks for speaking out for us. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my absolute best. I need you guys to support this channel by smashing that like button, sharing, and subscribing to make sure that this message continues to get out. I'm going to let you sit on that thought as I end up putting that in there and as I go over today's daily devotional. So if you're not a Christian or, whatever, then you can go away. If you don't want to hear it, that's fine. It's fine. I said I'm bringing these back. I'm a man of my word. That's exactly what I'm doing. So again, here's your reading that we're going to go over. But I say to you, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you. I'm going to read that one more time because I think it's important. But I say to you, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you. I think that's very important for people to listen to, especially today. If you go around calling for the massacre of these jihadists, right? Like, if we end up going around calling for the massacre of these jihadists, what's going to end up happening? Seriously. People are going to come out and they're going to say, look at these like Christians, look at these Jews, look at everybody that's just hating on these Muslims over there. That's horrible. That's not a very good look. It doesn't say that you can't defend yourself. It doesn't say that you can't speak out against it. It doesn't say that you can't do all of those things, but it definitely calls for you to pray for them. And I know it's going to be very hard for some of you guys to do that. And I have absolutely no doubt that here in just a minute, that somebody is going to take this clip of what I'm about to be doing, and they're going to take it and they're going to chop it and they're going to post it on social media and say, look at this guy. He supports jihadists. Go ahead. Because the truth does come out. What's done in the dark will come to the light. So I dare you. With that, I just ask you guys to pray with me. Lord, I ask you to enter into the hearts of all of the fighters that are down inside southern Syria right now, those that are coming in from foreign countries that are under the control of Jawlani, that are going in to massacre the Druze. And I ask that you go in and I ask that you change their hearts. And then I ask that if they have that opportunity to pull the trigger on innocent civilians, if they have the opportunity to kill babies, if they have the opportunity to kill women and children, that you enter into their heart and you show them that what they are doing is wrong and it is not just and it is not right in your eyes, regardless of what they were taught over the years. I ask that you go in and you change their soul and that those men that are over there conducting those atrocities actually feel your presence at that moment and that time and actually stop, and that starts a movement, and that those people actually turn around and they start speaking out against their own that are conducting those atrocities. Lord, you of all have the power in order to go and enter into their hearts and make them feel that. And I hope that your presence there within their hearts is enough to stop this genocide, because clearly our government can't do it. And I pray that you enter with wisdom into Donald Trump and Marco Rubio, and that you give them the wisdom and power. Lord, I know that they're trying to do the right thing, but I know that they are not doing such a good job right now. And I ask that you bring peace upon them so that they can make the actual proper decisions that they need right now at this critical time. Same thing over inside Israel. Same thing with everybody that is facing these massacres on the ground. We ask these things in your holy name. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Your mom says, did you guys see how the Muslim community is cheering on China, who sent aid by airdrop, but no one praises any Western country? Why are we still blind? There's a false video that's floating around. And I don't know if it's a recent one, because if there's a recent video of Chinese conducting aid drops, I'm not aware. But last year, a video of American aircraft conducting humanitarian aid drops via AC-130s over Gaza ended up getting falsely reported as China conducting those aid drops. If those videos are circulating around again, make sure you guys end up bringing that up. Lollipop Roadrunner became a brand new Truth supporter. C88, been a Truth supporter for a while. I don't know why it says that. Probably just renewed you. Some guy says, I'll shave with you, Matt. Tom Bone says, I would consider it, but to be honest with you, I don't think anybody in my area really cares. That's sad. C88 says, happy birthday with a $2 donation. RDL Snare, if Pete Hexas would let me, I would. Oh, that's funny, man. You guys, I love you. I really do. And I really appreciate the community that we have built over here on this channel. I do. And I hope that, I hope that you guys end up sharing this. I hope that the message ends up getting out there. Feel free to take as many clips and cut as much stuff as you guys want. I don't care. All right, do what you got to do. Get this word out. Ladies and gentlemen, in the meantime, peace, love, happiness, and God bless. I'm out of here.